Hello and welcome. It is Japan, and we're gonna have a interesting tier list. I guess interesting being like interesting for my thing is I'm a bronze player. I have not played much comp. I seem to hover around bronze because I play with people that are a little bit higher, and I'm just never in the lobby that I should be in. Not really making excuses because I'm not. Honestly, I'm just still not that good at the game. But yeah, I figured, like I've seen tons of tier lists about like people that are really high up level, and they're like, I hate this character, and this character is bad, and then I'm like, oh, elos are not that bad for those characters. So I figured let's rank them. Let me like I'm at the bottom, so I know what bottom characters seem to be played more difficult at the end. Like at that low level. So let's start off with Anna. Anna could be an absolute menace in low because you're just gonna get hit by grenades 24/7. I'm gonna put her in B. If you're playing tank, I think she's even more of a menace because like man, like just getting slept 24/7. Figure to put her in the middle. She probably will go towards the lower if I have space. In most of my tier lists, I try to keep everything um, the same. Like I try to keep the same amount in every single one. Next up, we have Ash. Ash is another one that I think is just kind of the middle of the road. You really have to get some talented ones that are like on their way up. But the average Ash player that you run into is probably going to be a hard switch at some point because she's just going to get chased off of whatever location she's in. Junker Queen, I feel like in low elos, Junker Queen's probably one of the best tanks to go against. I don't feel like anybody really stays on her because of like she's a little squishy, and if you can't hit with that knife, the tank's gonna go down a lot. So I feel like she's probably one of the best tanks to go against. Next up is Sombra, absolutely the worst in low elos. If you have somebody who knows how to play Sombra, they're gonna harass their support, they're gonna harass the DPS, and they're gonna completely derail anything that you're trying to do if you don't know how to deal with her. Especially if you don't have a DPS that wants to turn to some type of like ability to go after her or like to kill her and stuff. Like I like to switch to Torburn to at least try to counter her with the turret and stuff, and that kind of keeps her busy. But in low elos, if you got somebody just absolutely attacking you with Sombra, she's one of the worst. Mercy, it's kind of hard to say because she just like heals. She's not really going after you that much. I don't think she's that bad. I'll probably put her towards one of the better to play against. I think she heals. I mean she's a great support for that, but I don't think there's it's as bad. Lightweaver's another one that I feel like you spend a lot of time just heal botting and like then trying to do some damage, and they're normally not too hard to take out. So I'll probably put them towards the best. Soldierin, I feel like the Soldierin, it's very big skill gap. Like most people just go on her and then can't do anything, and then there's the one that can just get all the time and just absolutely railgun. But it's not that often. I'm gonna put her in A. I still feel like in general she's difficult to go against, but you don't see it much in the low. Alari right now, because of whatever buff they just gave her, is absolutely like God sent for people. Like if you have aim, like if you can get headshots and you can just sit back there and be like, if you're a Widow player normally and you like to play Alari, you're gonna get a bunch of kills. Like every game that I've been loading into, especially in comp and stuff, you'll have an Alari with like more damage than most of the DPS, more eliminations, and still get a pretty good healing because they got the turret. So yeah, I'd say she's probably one of the worst to go against. Sim is interesting because I feel like if you're really just paying attention to those turrets, then she's not that bad. But like if you get somebody who chases and goes after you, it gets worse. I'll put her in the middle. I feel like the middle is decent. She might slide down a little bit to the best, but I think right now the middle works. Next up is Tracer, generally a kind of an annoying character to get around and stuff. I'll put her towards the bottom. I feel like she doesn't have a lot of health, and if you can really attack her, she's fine. But some of them can zip around enough that just gonna absolutely destroy a lower team. Next up is Diva. She's one of the harder tanks to go against the lower ones because it seems like uh, most of the people that play Diva, at least in the lower levels, that's like the one tank they only play. So like they know Diva like the back of her hand. I'll put her in the middle. I don't think she's the worst, but I don't think she's the best to play against. Mei is an absolute menace. I don't think she's the worst character to go against, but like if you get a Mei that's just glued to just wanting to dive bomb you, and somebody doesn't have aim, she's gonna kill a lot of people. Widow, if you know how to play Widow in the bottom and you can get a good spot, you're gonna probably kill because most of the time the DPS isn't gonna want to focus in on you because they just want to do damage, so they're not gonna want to go chasing. So kind of goes down to the worst. Farah, on the other hand, is kind of like way more skill involved with like people like wanting to like go in your back line and stay in your back line because you got to know where to hide and go. But like it's kind of the same thing. Like nobody will want to counter her because they're like, man, I just want to play the game, and she's killing us 24/7. So I'll put her in C. I don't think she's quite the worst to go against. I think like if somebody counters her, she's not as bad. But man, she's hard. Next up is Venture. They were really a nightmare when like right out of being released and stuff, and then they kind of just have kind of faded into existence. But like they're going underground and alting used to they could get a good 5 piece on it. I'm gonna put A. I don't think it's too bad. Actually, maybe I'll put Venture to B and then sim down a little bit. Bastion, I think is just a natural menace. It's just the damage output, and if she gets a mercy glue to him, a lot of DPS can't do anything about it. So, but see, I mean, he's slow, so if you can get anybody that can get up on him, it's fine. Doomfist, I feel like Doomfist is a weird one because if you have a Doomfist on your team, they're going to be the worst Doomfist in the world. If they're against you, they're going to smack you off the map like 1,500 times. So, middle of the road, definitely, because it doesn't feel like it's consistent with Doomfist, but that's just what it is. Um, Mora and bottom ranks are, if you know how to play Mora, that's going to be somebody who's going to annihilate you most of the time. I'll put her towards the worst. I mean, I don't feel like she's hard to kill a lot of the times, but if you get one of those aggressive ones that's always in your back line doing stuff, it gets old fast and you're going to be in trouble. So I'll put it towards the worst. Zarya is definitely a really strong tank. I feel like most low levels with Zarya just are not it though. I don't feel like it's as bad. I feel like even in quick play, I think like it's way better than in comp. Briggs, another one that I think is kind of not super crazy in comp. I feel like with just her abilities and stuff, like knowing that you need to be around people, I feel like a lot of them are just off to the side trying to like beat up people, and she's not getting that heal value that like really good players normally get. Reaper right now, especially with just everything that they've been doing and like reworks with other characters, he's been a menace. He's been an absolute menace. You can get somebody who just wants to dive bomb you 24/7 and just build that ult up so fast, and then he gets like 4 ults in a round, and you're just in trouble. Reaper seems to be the worst right now. Hanzo, very skill based with the like having to worry about headshots and stuff. But I think overall they're pretty useful on an opponent team, but they're pretty easy to go after if you want to take that take that chance to go after them. Sigma is like a middle of the road tank right now at the low levels because it's like if he's played well, and uses his shield and uses his kit, he'll be kind of hard to kill. But most people seem to just let just go out there and do like half the stuff. So I'll put him there. I don't think he's the worst to go against. Next up is Ramatra. Unless you have a very, very skilled Ramatra, he's probably one of the best tanks to go against, at least in the low levels. I keep having to say that because I feel like I've seen a lot of like Grandmaster play and like big streamers play, and like other characters are way more popular up there than on the bottom because it just feels like people don't either put the time into it or I don't know. Echo, towards the bottom again. I actually know more in quick play that she's way more dangerous, but it feels like when you get into a match, it's just not as bad. Kiriko, other than like good amount of healing, you have like once in a while a really aggressive one that can do good, but a lot of times you'll have a really aggressive one and then they just don't heal and you just roll over them. So I'll put it towards the bottom. I don't mind seeing a Kiriko over there. Lucio, depending on how like aggressive and like crackheaded they are, could be pretty bad. But I'm gonna put him towards the bottom. I feel like unless it's like a map where you're gonna fall off, you're gonna be pretty solid. Cassidy right now with the buffs and stuff. I don't even know if you call it a buff, if just the rework. People have been playing him and absolutely just chasing down people and doing massive amounts of damage. Do not like to see him. Mulga's another one that, like, if you can get some good support with Mulga, you're gonna be in trouble a lot. Put him down here. I don't like being on fire the entire match. Like, I just like I don't really want that, you know. Soldier's not too bad. I'll put him in A. Um, Obviously with his ult can be pretty aggressive and stuff, but I feel like in general they go out there, maybe swap a kill or two. They don't seem too crazy. Genji is starting to creep up towards the worst, but like when I play support, I like play Moira most of the time, so I don't worry about Genji as much. So like I don't fear Genji, but like when I don't play Moira, I fear him pretty well because he just dive bombs. So I'll put him in the middle. I feel like it's valid. I feel like Genji's definitely a character that's played in higher ranks. Orisa is the scariest tank. I just feel like there's a lot to take her down. I think she's the worst tank by far to go against. Um, in general, it's a long day. Reinhardt, I put him towards the bottom. He's a great tank, but the Reinhardt mentality, the lower accurate Reinhardt is very alive in bronze, and like you just get a guy who's jetting into the back line, and then by the time somebody gets over there, he's already dead. Um, I feel like Hogs towards the bottom. I think that little bit of a nerf that he got, just it was a lot. I felt like a lot more when you play him too. It feels like you're definitely struggling more. So I think he's towards the bottom. Winton, hmm, Winton's interesting. I think I'll move Lucio up a little bit. I'll put Winton here. He can be very scary, but overall, like I'm not too crazy to go against him. Like you, okay, I talked myself up. I'll put him up here, and then out of these ones, I'll put Diva up a little bit higher. I feel like Diva's a little bit more of a menace than Winston. Next up is Ball. Ball is interesting too. It's the same thing with Doomfist. If the ball's on my team, it's never going to do anything. If the ball's on the other team, it's going to absolutely just hammer me and headbutt me and smack me against the wall. So I'm going to put it in C. It normally isn't a bad thing to see, but it just feels like I don't really I don't really get the chance to go against it. Junkrat's another menace character. You get a lot of Junkrats that go the whole game behind you, and they're just bouncing around and shooting randomly, and it works, and they get a bunch of damage, and they're a menace. So put them in C. Torbjorn is one that's interesting because I don't feel like anybody plays Torbjorn anymore. I love playing him, but like in low, nobody plays him. So I'm gonna put him in that he's easy to go against. You just have to really pay attention to that turret, and yeah, that's all I'll do all day is just pay attention to the turret. Don't go too near him so he can't scatter shot you, and he's pretty easy to go over. Next up is Zenyatta, another one with being able to like he can get that heal, and then he just goes on and does damage, and that Discord. Yeah, I'm gonna put him in the worst. I feel like he's just a menace, and it's fun to kick people and seeing that, but it's not good to be kicked. Baptiste, I think, is higher than what the available spot that I have. So I'm trying to think who I'm going to move. I think I'll put Lucio back down and put Baptiste here. Some Baptiste players are just absolutely godsend with their aim, and they tend to be behind you and then jump away, and they can do some pretty good damage. So that's what my low elo ranking of the heroes are. Tell me what you guys think, and if what rank you're in, and what you think is the worst hero, because it'd be interesting to see. I think overall, if I had to pick, if I go into the game, and I'm the thing that makes me have the most fear is Sombra. It's been that for a while, and I feel like in low it's really like that, especially as support, because it's like, am I gonna get stuck somewhere and I'm not gonna get any help? It's a whole change to your game. So I would say Sombra is absolutely the worst menace here. So tell me what you guys think. Bye guys.